Was Kamala Harris right about price gouging? The CEO of Kroger just testified that they have been price gouging. Is this true? Let's talk about it. So we got a comment on a video, on the previous video that we did regarding price gouging and how the CEO of Kroger, well, the person claiming the CEO of Kroger testified in Congress that they had done price gouging during some supply chain issues. So we're going to go over that price gouging situation today, and we're going to actually dive into it a little bit and explain what price gouging actually is and why maybe the government being involved in price gouging is not the best solution. First off, I want to say welcome to Ink Money. Please don't forget to like and follow. I'm Charlie, and Brian's right beside me, and we're going to get going. So Kroger executive admits company gouged prices above inflation. Let's look at this article. And this is by Newsweek, published on August 28th. So it's been a little bit. A top leader at Kroger has admitted during an antitrust trial the company gouged prices on select items above inflation levels. While testifying to a Federal Trade Commission attorney Tuesday, Kroger's senior director for pricing and Groff said the grocery giant had raised prices for eggs and milk beyond inflation levels. This is not all surprising, Drew Powers, the founder of Illinois-based Powers Financial Group, told Newsweek. Companies across multiple industries have been posting record profits since the COVID-19 crisis, while consumers have faced the highest inflation in recent history. The math can only point to companies raising prices above the general level of inflation. As the old saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. The questioning came during court hearing for Kroger's FTC suit after the retail giant announced it would be acquiring top grocery competitor Albertsons. Groff said Kroger intends to pass through our inflation to consumers after an internal email from the executive showed that the price of eggs and milk routinely surpassed what inflation would require for the chain to still make profits. On milk and eggs, retail inflation has been significantly higher than the cost inflation, Groff said in the internal email to other Kroger executives. A Kroger spokesperson previously told Bloomberg that Groff's comment was cherry-picked and does not reflect Kroger's decades-long business model to lower prices for customers by reducing its margins. Not everyone believes that the email comment is reflective of Kroger's price-setting policies or the grocery industry at large. Economists have long indicated that the grocery sector, which is composed of only a few chains like Kroger and Walmart, was benefiting from supply chain disruptions during the pandemic, allowing the companies to hike prices beyond what was necessary to retain profits. So, Brian, looking at this, regarding Kroger supposedly upping its prices by more than the inflationary measures would be because of supply chain disruptions. Probably they had a higher supply of food than most other grocery stores, right? That's what makes sense. Or they had a way to get the food, which means that they had the advantage of having more food on hand or more eggs and milk on hand, which means that they can hike the prices up above their competitors by quite a bit because guess what? They're the only guys in town with the eggs and milk. What do you think?
So yeah, this is a multi-layered question here. So one of the first things to point out here is that Kroger is a for-profit business, and unless Congress chooses to step in here, there is no legal reason for them not to be able to raise prices of high demand items. Now, that being said, the issue that I think Congress is raising here, and the issue that I see, is the antitrust, which basically means that Kroger has gotten so big that, like you pointed out, they can more or less single-handedly control the cost of some of these items. And if customers can't get to a store that has items at a free market value, that can lead to basically a control of the entire market by Kroger, especially in certain areas, which means that they can then price things however they wish.
So by having control of the entire market and having no competition, that means that they can control the price of all the goods and foods in that market and make them way more expensive and make a lot more money for themselves. And that's where the problem comes in. So the issue is not them hiking up their prices. The issue is the lack of competition.
That's correct. At least in my view, I am very pro free market, and that's not only I see reduced government intervention as a good thing, but I also see things like this where one company takes over an entire sector as effectively the same as government intervention because they allow complete control over the consumer. And as a consumer, I want to have the most options possible.
Absolutely. I love that. So basically, when companies become too big, and we already have antitrust laws in place, right?
That's correct. And Congress is basically trying to make a case for how this violates antitrust laws.
So when Kamala Harris still says we need to control prices, control price gouging, it still doesn't make sense in this scenario.
So that's a good point. So Kamala Harris, I think, had her heart in the right place in this case. But the actual implementation that she mentioned, you're correct, does not make sense because controlling the actual cost that any store in the entire country can sell a jug of milk, for example, doesn't make sense. But coming in with government and doing what government is intended to do and restore competition to the marketplace does make sense.
That makes sense. I like that. And thank you to the person who left the comment on our video. I don't know if you want your name mentioned, but I appreciate you giving us some more content to talk about. Let's talk about price gouging specifically.
So price controls will never be able to fully encompass everything. So if you price control a certain brand of milk or a certain style of milk, for example, let's say they price control every single kind of cow milk, for example, but maybe they want almond milk or soy milk to be non-price controlled. What that will do is that will decrease the incentive for dairy farmers, but greatly increase the incentive for almond milk farmers or soy milk farmers. And so you'll end up with shortages in dairy milk because there's no longer a financial incentive to run cows and milk them.
Oh, that makes sense. So the idea of not having your prices controlled makes it so that people don't want to go in that industry and provide more services or products from that industry because they're not going to be making enough money to satisfy maybe their greed or even just their needs in the day-to-day life. So the idea of controlling prices from the top down, from the government itself, it doesn't work. Now, the case for a supply chain issue or having monopoly, then the government might need to step in there and be like, hey guys, this isn't fair. There needs to be some kind of competition in the market so that prices can be kept low and the consumers can benefit from that competition.
That's a good point, Charlie. So the best price control is actually that of the free market because if a price is too high, for example, if Kroger is selling things too high, the idea would be here that maybe Walmart can come in and undercut them. And I believe that's actually been happening because Walmart is now lowering their prices and Kroger will have to do that to keep up as well.
And that's a problem. But for small grocery stores, if you're getting started as a small grocery store, there is the case for how do we make it more fair for people of smaller caliber coming into the market and being able to enter the market so we still keep the competition alive and well in the market? Would government intervention in that case be helpful?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So depending on the style of government intervention, yes, that could be very helpful. So maybe the government has some kind of incentive, maybe a tax break or something for someone breaking into an established market like that.
I like that. So we're not here to be people that are, we're not here to say that there's never a need for a government entity to come in and regulate a few things. But we're just saying be very careful whenever you have the government come in and try to keep a market or try to regulate a market because it always backfires in some way. So in conclusion, Brian, basically price gouging can't really take place if there's true competition in the market.
That's correct. Price gouging in a free market is the prerogative of the owner of that business. Price gouging among a monopoly, it should be illegal and is very destructive to business because it causes perverse incentives.
And for anybody who says that the government should step in and control prices, I want to tell you, go start a business and find out exactly what it takes to run a business and how it works. Because I'm going to tell you this, you're going to realize, oh, shoot, there are so many extra costs that you don't even realize come about. And yes, sometimes if a company gets too big, they can charge more. But there's always, if there's an ability for somebody else to join that market and compete against them, there's always going to be a chance to bring down those prices. All right, so that's it for today. Please don't forget to like and follow and leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear about it. What do you think about price gouging? What do you think about price controls? Does it work? Does it not? I'm going to say we already gave you our opinion, so we're looking forward to hearing yours. Bye for now.